everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rabya and welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm doing this holiday inspired makeup look using all affordable makeup products. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and let's just get into it. So I'm starting off with a clean face and my eyebrows done. I used all my favorite Benefit products and I'm going in with my favorite foundation from the drugstore, and this is a L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear foundation in the shade 495 Amber. I love how this foundation wears throughout the day and looks on my skin. Honestly, I know I said it's my favorite drugstore foundation, but I do think it might be my favorite foundation of 2019. So I'm just using my beauty blender to spread that out. It did look a little lighter on my skin tone, so I went in with a foundation that's a little deeper, which is a Morphe Fluidity foundation in the shade 3.80. This foundation is a really nice matte option and I like to use it whenever I need to darken up a foundation, and I'm also using that on my eyelids as my primer. This is something I learned from Melissa Alatorre. She said better than concealer is using a foundation. And I'm going in with my LA Girl Pro Conceal Concealer. Honestly, this performs like a high-end concealer. And I'm just going to use that to correct and brighten my under eyes and also down the center of my face. I'm using this in the shade Tawny. And again, I just like to use this all around the high points of my face as also a concealer and a brightener. And I'm just going to use, again, a beauty blender to blend that out. And you can see this, it looks so nice and light and it blends into the skin really nicely. I found out about this concealer from Dress Your Face, and honestly, I just don't know if like there's anything better at the drugstore, but it is just like one of my go-to favorites, not just like drugstore concealer. I am going to use the part of the beauty blender that I blend out my foundation with to kind of go over the harsh lines that the concealer might have caused. So like you can see, I'm just like blending out where the foundation and concealer meet with that bottom end. Now I'm going in with another shade from that LA concealer, and this is Beautiful Bronze, and I'm using that to contour the perimeters of my face and also just down the center of my nose to give myself a mini contour. I'm also going to do it around my lip, which is something I learned from Scott Barnes on the Tati Westbrook channel. And I'm using a pretty big brush to blend that out right now. Honestly, I'm going to look really crazy. Even I kind of was like, dang, this looks really crazy, but it actually blended, this concealer blends out beautifully, and I'm just going to go back over the whole face with like a beauty blender and kind of work some powders into it. So even though it looks a little crazy right now, it's all gonna, I promise, work itself out. I did use that same brush to blend out my nose contour. Something I learned from Desi Perkins is to take that contour up through the brow bone, which is something I've been doing and enjoying, honestly. I do just wish I used a little bit more of a smaller brush to do the contour of my nose. But again, once I put in a little bit more effort with blending, which I am going to do right now with my beauty blender, everything just looks really nice and seamless. What I wanted to protrude will protrude, and what I needed to go into like a little bit of a hollow is going to do that. I just need to spend a little bit more time blending. Now I'm going into my Wet n Wild contour palette. This is in the shade Dulce de Leche. Obviously, it's a very loved. And I'm going in with that yellow shade to set everywhere that I apply that concealer. And that's, again, down the center of my face. I'm also going to use it to powder down the tops of my eyelids so that my eyeshadows sit nicely on top of it. But it's mostly to just brighten up the whole face. And as you can see, it's like really smoothing. I prefer it over all of my yellow powder. This is my favorite one. And next is a really loved, as you can see, it's completely almost out, powder. This is a Fit Me 310 powder from Maybelline. I love it. I feel like it sets the makeup, but it doesn't look very powdery or heavy, especially when you use it with a big brush. Now I'm going in with the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and this is in the shade Medium Deep. I'm just going to lightly set everywhere I did that cream contour. I'm not going to go in super heavy-handed because that cream contour, as you can see already, is doing a pretty good job of defining the face pretty naturally. I just want to set it down a little bit, define my face a little bit more. So that's why I'm doing that, and just, again, going around everywhere that I applied that cream contour. Now I'm going in with this Note blush, and I love this. It's available at Ulta. I think it's only $7. It's so pigmented and it's kind of powdery, but I feel like because of that, it's such a nice pigmented formula. It actually shows up really nicely on my skin and lasts really well throughout the day. Now I'm just taking that same Physicians Formula bronzer and kind of defining the eyes with that. I like to just do this to map out my eye shape. As you can see, there's already a little bit of definition there from that cream contour technique that I told you that Desi Perkins taught. And now I'm going in with this ColourPop Crush It On You highlighter palette. I used a fan brush to go in with it, but honestly, I think this works the best with your finger. As you can see with the fan brush, it doesn't really go on as buttery and smooth. So I would suggest using this with your fingers because it is a beautiful highlight once you use it correctly. And then this was the base complete. As you can see, it looked kind of crazy in the middle there, but it all went well. Now I'm going in with this ColourPop X I Love Sarai palette, through my eyes palette, and I'm going to use this first shade as a transition. I didn't fast forward through this part at all, so you can see how long I take to build up my crease color. So I just like to use a pretty fluffy brush and kind of just work in small sections. ColourPop eyeshadow palettes honestly are so affordable and they're so beautifully pigmented. That's why I have to work slowly with them. I can't just slap on a whole bunch of color, and they blend so beautifully together. Obviously, I love that I use a really big YouTuber influencer, so she really knows her colors. Like this palette, when I first got it, I was pretty intimidated by it because I was like, there's so much color, but the more I used it, the more I realized how much I love using these. I did run that shade down my lower lash line too, and that name of the shade was Misbehave. And now I'm going in with the shade Divina. This is my favorite shade, I believe, in the palette, at least in all the mattes. And I'm just using that to kind of define that outer corner. But can you see how beautifully those two shades work with each other? Like honestly, like they were in the palette, they kind of look like they wouldn't be so complimentary just because Misbehave is a little bit of a brighter shade and Divina kind of seems a little bit more goth, but they complement each other so well. Like I loved how these two shades worked together. I'm going back in with that Tawny concealer from LA Girl, and I'm going to, like, I don't want to say cut the creases, just to redefine my eye shape, to put on the main lid shade, because you're going to see it's not very like harsh like a cut crease or defined. I just wanted to clean up my lid space a little bit, especially when I use dark colors like I did. Like I feel like I might lose that lid color, so I just like to clean up a little bit with a concealer. Now I'm going into the shade Nocturnal, and I'm just going to use that onto my eyelids, and I'm just pushing that in with a brush. This is such a beautiful shade. I feel like I keep saying that about all the colors in the palette, but this was so pretty, and the fact that it went on so nicely without being wet it was so shocking to me in like when I actually used it the first time. Like this is not wet. This is going in directly from the palette onto my eyelid. There wasn't any fallout, and I was even able to do a pretty nice like definition of like my crease with it. So it was so beautiful. And now I'm just going back into Divina and defining the outer corners. And now I'm going into this gold shade and just popping that into the center of the eyelid. Do you see how shimmery this shade is? It looks like so reflective. And again, this was like I think a $16 palette, and ColourPop's always having sales on their website, so you should really check them out. Now I'm just gonna go in with the first brush that we used Misbehave on and do a really light sweeping all around the eye, just to make sure everything looks really blended. And now I'm going in with this LA Girl brown gel, like it's a gel pencil, and it's in the shade brown, and I'm just going to line the inner and upper waterline of my eyes. Now I'm going to go in with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, and I'm just going to spray that all over my face just to get all those powders to melt in. And to furthermore get those powders to like melt into the skin, I'm just going to go in with the Beauty Blender once I've given the setting mist a little bit of time to dry. So while it's still a little damp but not completely wet. I'm using the Tarte Big Ego mascara for my lashes. I did just go in with this a few coats because I didn't want to wear falsies, because I don't feel like for holiday parties, even though some people might opt for it, I feel like most people just want to have big va-va-voom eyelashes with just mascara. So that's why I opted out of falsies for this look, and I just piled on the mascara to my top and lower lashes. Now I'm going into the shade Lucid in the palette. This shade I did wet just because I wanted a lot of opacity, and I used that to brighten up the inner corners of my eyes as well as my brow bone. You'll see that I don't drag the shadow much in my brow bone. I tap it basically by the arch and push it in with my finger because that's where I want the definition. I don't want the whole brow bone highlighted. I just want the arch. And now I'm going in with the ColourPop X Shayla collab, I think this lip set. It's in the shade Slay Down. And I'm using the lip liner. This is BFF4. And I'm going to define my lips and also fill in just the corners and also kind of give myself a fake filler look by just like defining certain parts of my lip with a lip liner. And I'm gonna look kind of crazy. It's gonna look like I ate like a spider, but it actually does define the lips really well once you put that lipstick on top. So I'm going over it with that liquid lipstick in the set. And although it kind of looks like it's erasing most of the work, once it dries down a little bit lighter, so you'll still see that definition, but it won't be as obvious as it was with just the lip liner. So I do basically try to cover most of my mouth with this lipstick, and it is really nude. It's pretty light. So the way I like to use that is just I tap it in with my finger just to melt it into my lips a little bit more so it doesn't look so nude and just sitting on top of my lips. And that, you guys, is how this lip or makeup look actually looks with this almost satin lipstick. This is kind of how I would like to wear it just because I am such a matte lover. But I did also want to give you guys the option of what it would look like with a gloss. So I'm going in with the ColourPop X Sarai Ultra Glossy Lip, and this is the shade Atole. And I'm just going to pop that onto my lip. And this is such a pretty peachy gloss and has a beautiful like gold glitters. It just makes your lips look so nice. And that is what it looks like with the gloss on top. Honestly, I love how this look turned out, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're going to be recreating this look or maybe purchasing any of the items I've discussed. And until next time, guys, I really hope you guys have a wonderful, beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!